What is Mahayana Buddhism? Today we begin with a fundamental question. What is Mahayana Buddhism? Understanding this will help us see why it is called the Great Vehicle and how it shaped the course of Buddhist thought. Mahayana Buddhism is one of the two major branches of Buddhism. The other is Theravada, also known historically as Hinayana. The term Mahayana comes from Sanskrit, meaning great vehicle. This name reflects its broad, inclusive vision. Where early Buddhist schools, especially Theravada, focus on the individual's journey to enlightenment, Mahayana expands the goal. It encourages practitioners not only to seek enlightenment for themselves, but also to dedicate their practice to helping all sentient beings awaken. At the heart of Mahayana Buddhism lies the bodhisattva ideal. A bodhisattva is someone who, out of deep compassion, chooses to delay personal nirvana so they can guide others toward liberation. Instead of escaping the cycle of birth and death alone, the bodhisattva works tirelessly for the awakening of all. Mahayana emphasizes two qualities above all: compassion, karuna, the willingness to share in the suffering of others and act to relieve it; wisdom, prajna, the deep insight into the true nature of reality, often described as emptiness or shunyata. Together, compassion and wisdom form the foundation of the Mahayana path. Without compassion, wisdom can become cold and distant. Without wisdom, compassion may lack direction. Mahayana unites them as inseparable qualities of enlightenment. So in simple terms, Mahayana Buddhism is called the Great Vehicle because it carries not just one person to liberation, but strives to carry all beings together. It shifts the focus from individual salvation to universal awakening, with the Bodhisattva as its guiding example. If you were on a path to enlightenment, would you choose to walk alone or would you wait and help others along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. Origin and development of Mahayana Buddhism. Now that we know what Mahayana Buddhism is, let's look at how it began and how it developed into one of the most influential spiritual traditions in the world. Mahayana Buddhism started to take shape around the 1st century CE in India. Its exact beginnings remain debated among scholars, but most agree that it arose as a reform movement. It responded to the more monastic and individual-centered practices of early Buddhism, offering a path that was more inclusive, compassionate, and accessible. This movement emphasized the Bodhisattva path, placing compassion and service at the center of spiritual practice, and gradually distinguished itself from the earlier Theravada traditions. As Mahayana ideas spread beyond India, they interacted with different cultures and gave rise to a variety of schools and traditions. Each region shaped Mahayana according to its own culture and needs. China. Here Mahayana developed into great traditions such as Chan, Zen, which focused on meditation and direct experience, Tiantai, with its emphasis on the Lotus Sutra, and Pure Land Buddhism, centered on devotion to Amitabha Buddha. Japan Mahayana took root deeply in Japan, giving rise to Zen, Pure Land, and Nichiren Buddhism, each shaping Japanese spirituality and culture in distinct ways. Tibet. While Tibetan Buddhism is best known as Vajrayana, it is built firmly on Mahayana foundations, especially the Bodhisattva ideal and teachings on emptiness. Vietnam and Korea. Both countries practiced a rich blend of Zen and Pure Land traditions, creating a balanced approach of meditation and devotion. In this way, Mahayana became not just one movement, but a family of traditions, each carrying the same core vision: enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So Mahayana began as a reform in India, but as it spread across Asia, it adapted, evolved, and became a diverse yet unified movement. Its strength lies in this ability to combine universal compassion with cultural diversity. If you lived during the time Mahayana Buddhism was spreading, which approach would attract you more? The meditation-focused Zen path or the devotional Pure Land path? Let me know in the comments. Major schools and common practices in Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism is not just one path but a family of traditions. Over centuries it gave rise to different schools, each with its own unique focus and methods. Alongside these schools, Mahayana developed powerful practices to help cultivate both wisdom and compassion. Major schools of Mahayana Buddhism. Madhyamaka, Middle Way. Founded by Nagarjuna, this school is centered on the teaching of emptiness. the idea that nothing has an independent, permanent essence. By walking the middle way, practitioners avoid two extremes, believing that things exist permanently or that nothing exists at all. Instead, reality is seen as interdependent and fluid. Yogacara, mind-only school. Developed by Vasubandhu and Asanga, this school emphasizes the mind as the basis of all experience. Yogacara teaches that what we perceive as the outside world is deeply shaped by our consciousness. By transforming the mind, we can transform our reality. Pure Land Buddhism, one of the most widely practiced forms of Mahayana, especially in China and Japan. Pure Land teachings emphasize faith in Amitabha Buddha, who vowed to create a pure land, a realm free from suffering, where beings can easily achieve enlightenment. Followers often chant his name Namu Amida Butsu with deep devotion. Zen Chan in China, perhaps the most famous Mahayana school in the West, Zen emphasizes direct experience through meditation and simplicity. Zen masters often use koans, paradoxical riddles such as, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" to break ordinary patterns of thinking and spark sudden insight. Each of these schools offers a different door into the same house of Mahayana, the path of compassion and wisdom. Common practices in Mahayana Buddhism. Along with these schools, Mahayana developed a wide range of practices that bring its teachings to life. Meditation, Zazen. Especially central to Zen, meditation cultivates mindfulness, insight, and direct awareness of reality. Loving-kindness meditation, Metta, a practice to generate goodwill and compassion, wishing happiness and peace for all beings. Chanting sutras and mantras. Reciting sacred texts or mantras is a common way to focus the mind and open the heart. Examples include Namu Amida Butsu in Pure Land traditions and Om Mani Padme Hum in Tibetan Buddhism. Koans. Unique to Zen, these paradoxical riddles help students go beyond logical thinking and experience truth directly. Ethical living. Following the Bodhisattva path means living with generosity, patience, honesty, and compassion. For Mahayana practitioners, ethics are not just rules, they are expressions of wisdom and kindness. Community, Sangha. Practicing in a community provides mutual support, accountability, and encouragement. Mahayana emphasizes that the path is not walked alone, but together, with others. So the major schools of Mahayana, Madhyamaka, Yogacara, Pure Land, and Zen, show the diversity of its thought. And the common practices, from meditation to chanting to ethical living, show how its teachings are woven into daily life. Symbols of Mahayana Buddhism and its modern presence. Symbols are powerful. They carry deep meaning and help practitioners connect with complex teachings in a simple, visual way. In Mahayana Buddhism, several symbols stand out, and they continue to inspire both tradition and modern practice. Important symbols in Mahayana Buddhism. The Bodhi tree. This tree represents the very place where Siddhartha Gautama attained enlightenment and became the Buddha. For Mahayana practitioners, the Bodhi tree symbolizes not only enlightenment itself, but also the potential for awakening that lies within every being. The Dharma wheel, Dharma chakra. The Dharma wheel is one of the most universal Buddhist symbols. It represents the spread of the Buddha's teachings. Each part of the wheel carries meaning. The rim symbolizes concentration, the hub represents moral discipline, and the spokes stand for wisdom. When the wheel turns, it means the teachings are being shared with the world. Mahayana versus Theravada, a comparison. To understand Mahayana more clearly, let's briefly compare it with Theravada, the other major branch of Buddhism. Goal. Mahayana seeks enlightenment for all beings, while Theravada emphasizes personal liberation through the path of the Arhat, ideal practitioner. For Mahayana, the ideal is the Bodhisattva, who vows to save all beings before entering nirvana. In Theravada, the model is the Arhat, who achieves personal freedom from suffering. View on Buddhas. Mahayana recognizes many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, active across countless realms. Theravada focuses mainly on the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. Key teachings. Mahayana highlights emptiness, compassion, and Buddha nature, while Theravada emphasizes the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Texts. Mahayana draws from the Lotus Sutra, Heart Sutra, and Prajnaparamita writings, while Theravada relies on the Pali Canon. Countries practiced. Mahayana flourished in China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and Tibet. Theravada is mainly practiced in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. This comparison helps us see how both traditions spring from the same root, but grew in different directions. Mahayana in the modern world. Mahayana is not just an ancient tradition, it continues to shape the modern spiritual landscape. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen master who became a global spiritual leader. He brought mindfulness and engaged Buddhism to the West, teaching people how to apply Buddhist practice in daily life and even in social activism. The Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism and a living symbol of compassion, he has become a global voice for peace, nonviolence, and universal compassion, admired not only by Buddhists but by people of all faiths. Mahayana in the West. Today, practices like mindfulness meditation, originally rooted in Mahayana and Zen traditions, are widely used for stress reduction, emotional well-being, and mental clarity. This shows how adaptable Mahayana is. It continues to speak to modern needs while staying true to its ancient vision. So Mahayana symbols like the Bodhi tree and the Dharma wheel connect practitioners with timeless truths. Its comparison with Theravada shows its unique focus on compassion and universal enlightenment. And in the modern world, figures like Thich Nhat Hanh and the Dalai Lama keep Mahayana alive, bringing its wisdom into everyday life across the globe. Which aspect of Mahayana inspires you more? The symbols that connect us to tradition, the teachings that set it apart from Theravada, or the modern voices that carry it into today's world? Let me know in the comments. Important historical locations in Mahayana Buddhism. Buddhism is not just a philosophy or a set of practices. It's also deeply connected to real places where history and spirituality meet. Mahayana Buddhism, like all Buddhist traditions, honors certain locations as sacred, each carrying its own story. Nalanda. First, we have Nalanda, an ancient Buddhist university in India. Founded around the 5th century CE, Nalanda became a major center of learning for Mahayana philosophy. Scholars from all over Asia came to study Buddhist scriptures, debate philosophy, and practice meditation. It was not just a university. It was a hub where Mahayana teachings were preserved, expanded, and transmitted across the continent. Lumbini. Next is Lumbini, located in present-day Nepal. This is the birthplace of Siddhartha Gautama, who later became the Buddha. Lumbini is a sacred pilgrimage site for Buddhists of all traditions. It reminds us that Mahayana, though it developed later, traces its roots back to the historical Buddha and his life story. Bodh Gaya. Finally, we have Bodh Gaya in India, perhaps the most iconic Buddhist location. This is where Siddhartha meditated under the Bodhi tree and attained enlightenment. For Mahayana practitioners, Bodh Gaya represents not only the Buddha's awakening, but also the potential for awakening within all beings, echoing the central Mahayana teaching of universal Buddha nature. So these locations, Nalanda, Lumbini, and Bodh Gaya, are more than just historical sites. They are living symbols of Mahayana's philosophy, practice, and enduring connection to the Buddha's life and teachings. If you could visit one of these sacred places, which would you choose? The ancient learning halls of Nalanda, the birthplace of the Buddha in Lumbini, or the place of enlightenment at Bodh Gaya? Comment below. As we come to the end of our journey through Mahayana Buddhism, it's clear that this tradition is more than just a philosophy. It's a way of life. Mahayana Buddhism offers a profound path that balances two essential goals: personal spiritual development, cultivating wisdom, understanding emptiness, and nurturing mindfulness. Commitment to the welfare of all beings, following the bodhisattva ideal by acting with compassion and helping others along the path to enlightenment. Its teachings on emptiness, compassion, and the bodhisattva path are not abstract ideas. They are practical guides for navigating life's challenges. By integrating these principles into daily living, practitioners learn to respond to suffering with insight, kindness, and balance. In essence, Mahayana reminds us that true spiritual growth is never separate from the world around us. It encourages us to awaken personally while lifting others, showing that enlightenment is both an inner journey and a shared responsibility. For those who want to explore Mahayana Buddhism in greater depth, there are many resources available to guide your spiritual journey. One such place is Hidden Mantra, which offers teachings, texts, and insights to support your practice. Remember, Mahayana is not just history, it's a living path. Its wisdom is just as relevant today, helping us cultivate compassion, clarity, and purpose in a complex world. Main texts, core beliefs, and key thinkers of Mahayana Buddhism. To truly understand Mahayana Buddhism, we need to explore its sacred texts, core beliefs, and the thinkers who shaped its philosophy. These elements together form the foundation of a tradition that emphasizes both wisdom and compassion, guiding millions of practitioners across centuries. 1. Main texts in Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism has a vast library of scriptures, far broader than the early Buddhist canon. These texts expand on the Buddha's original teachings and introduce new philosophical ideas that reflect the Mahayana vision of universal compassion. Key texts include 1. The Lotus Sutra, one of the most influential Mahayana scriptures, teaches that all beings have the potential to become Buddhas, not just monks or highly advanced practitioners. Highlights the compassion of bodhisattvas, those selfless beings who dedicate their lives to helping others achieve enlightenment. The Lotus Sutra encourages practitioners to see every being as capable of awakening, which is central to Mahayana's inclusive spirit. 2. The Heart Sutra, extremely concise but profoundly meaningful, presents the concept of emptiness, shunyata. Everything in the universe lacks a permanent, independent essence. This teaching helps practitioners let go of attachments and fixed ideas, seeing the interconnected, fluid nature of reality. Despite being brief, the Heart Sutra has inspired centuries of meditation, reflection, and commentary. For the Prajnaparamita Sutra's Perfection of Wisdom text, a collection of writings ranging from short verses to massive texts, explores the nature of wisdom and shows how understanding emptiness leads to liberation, emphasizes that everything is interdependent, helping practitioners cultivate both insight and compassion. Together, these texts form the spiritual and philosophical backbone of Mahayana Buddhism, guiding practitioners on the path of both personal awakening and service to all beings. 2. Core beliefs of Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana's philosophy is built around 4 central ideas. 1. The Bodhisattva path. This is the hallmark of Mahayana practice. A bodhisattva vows to delay personal nirvana, to help all sentient beings attain enlightenment. It represents the highest expression of compassion, showing that true awakening is inseparable from caring for others. 2. Emptiness, shunyata, introduced by Nagarjuna, a major Mahayana philosopher. Emptiness teaches that nothing exists independently. Everything arises in dependence on conditions. Recognizing emptiness frees the mind from clinging, allowing both wisdom and compassion to flourish. 3. The Buddha nature. Mahayana teaches that every being has Buddha nature, the inherent potential for enlightenment. This belief is profoundly optimistic. No matter how lost or confused we may feel, the same seed of awakening exists within us. 4. Multiple Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Unlike Theravada, which focuses on the historical Buddha, Mahayana recognizes a vast spiritual universe of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Examples include Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, who responds to the cries of suffering beings. Amitabha Buddha, associated with the Pure Land, a realm where enlightenment is more easily attained. This universal vision combines philosophy and devotion, making Mahayana accessible to everyone. Which of these teachings resonates with you the most? The selfless bodhisattva path, the wisdom of emptiness, or the hopeful Buddha nature within all beings? Share your answer in the comments. 3 key thinkers and philosophers in Mahayana. Beyond texts and doctrines, Mahayana Buddhism was shaped by brilliant minds who interpreted, clarified, and expanded its teachings. Bhatta Nagarjuna lived around the 2nd century CE and founded the Madhyamaka school, or the Middle Way. Emptiness, shunyata, is his central teaching. All things lack independent, permanent existence. His philosophy helps practitioners release rigid thinking and develop both wisdom and compassion. 2. Vasubandhu and Asanga. These 2 brothers founded the Yogacara school, also called the Mind-Only School. Yogacara teaches that our consciousness shapes reality. What we perceive as the outside world is deeply influenced by the mind. Transforming consciousness transforms experience. Their work laid the foundation for much of Buddhist psychology, influencing meditation, perception, and philosophy. 3. Dogen, a 13th century Japanese Zen master who brought Zen Buddhism to Japan, taught that mindfulness is not separate from daily life. Enlightenment can be expressed in everyday activities from cooking to sweeping the floor. Dogen's teachings remind us that the sacred exists in the ordinary, if we practice with awareness. So 3 key figures define Mahayana philosophy. Nagarjuna with emptiness, Vasubandhu and Asanga with consciousness and perception, Dogen with mindfulness in daily life. Together they shaped Mahayana into a living tradition of wisdom, compassion, and practice. Which thinker inspires you the most? Nagarjuna, the Yogacara brothers, or Dogen? Comment below.